What's up, Steno babes? It's your boy, Jack.
And your girl, Des.
We are two court reporters
With one podcast.
ready to tell you all of our stories.
We're taking you through the court reporting profession through our eyes.
So get ready because we're about to go on the record.
Do you solemnly state that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth?
I do.
Then let's go.
This is the Steno Pod. What's up, Steno fam? We are back for another episode of the Steno Pod. I am joined here with my co-host, Des. How's it going, Des?
It's going great. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
I think they're good. We can't hear them, but I hope they're good.
I was asking you and our lovely
Our guest.
Molly. Hello.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm like, I can't even hold it anymore. We have such an amazing guest on the pod today. We have to introduce her.
Excited.
Our lovely, amazing, talented, knowledgeable friend, Molly Cooper, is on the pod.
Yay!
Hi, Molly.
Yay.
Welcome.
Hi. Hello. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes.
We're so excited to have Molly. Molly, you're a CSR, RPR. Are you anything else?
Yes, I just got the NVRA Steno cert.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Yeah,
Congrats.
but I didn't. Thank you. It was reciprocity for my RPR, so I didn't have to do any more tests, but I do now have more letters after my name.
That is so cool.
Pretty soon you're going to have the alphabet after your name for sure.
Yeah, literally. So Molly is obviously a court reporter, and I met her in school. And you guys, Molly was like my idol. She still is, but she was my idol. We were in school together. She was a little bit ahead of me, and I like started theory. I think she was maybe in like 150, 160 when I started theory. And I just looked up to her because I saw her passing every single test, like flying through school. And I'm like, I want to be exactly like her. And so I remember one day I was like, hey, like, can I take you for like a beer after school or something? And I think we went to Golden Road after and we just hit it off. And it's so crazy to think about that time because now we're just so in each other's lives and we sit out with one another and we hang out and we're just really good friends. So I'm so excited to have her here. She's also extremely knowledgeable on like finances and retirement. Every time she says something, I'm like, oh, I got to do that. Oh, I got to get on that. So we thought we'd bring her on and talk all things money and how to save and planning for your future, especially being a freelance court reporter. These things come up that a lot of people don't know. And I don't know how Molly figured it out, but we're going to find out soon. So Molly, let's start with a little bit of background, who you are, where you come from, and how did you find court reporting?
Yay. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Molly, as Jack said. I'm so happy to be here. I know Jack from school, and I met Des a few years ago at a convention, and we had a lot of mutual friends. So a little bit about me before I found court reporting. I actually was a teacher, and my whole adult life has been about language, basically. So I studied linguistics at UC Santa Cruz. And linguistics is the scientific study of language. So it's looking at patterns that exist throughout all languages. Like every language has a verb, but the endings and, the pronunciation and all that might be different, right? So it's like universal patterns of all languages, as well as we zoomed in to the super nitty gritty of English and the structure of English and all that good stuff. So I'm a big old language nerd.
I love that.
And
Love that. Love that.
I love it too. So I'd always heard of stenography, like doing linguistics. It was just one of those other big fancy language words that I didn't really know what it meant,
Mm-hmm.
But long story short, after college, I moved to Mexico to teach English as a second language, or ESL, and also for me to learn Spanish. I've studied, I think, 5 languages total. I'd say I'm only fluent in 2, 3 if you count Steno.
Wow.
But yeah, my whole goal was to become bilingual, multilingual, and to teach English. And I lived in Mexico and Thailand doing that. And I also taught ESL here in California to foreign students that were here on visas. So when I found court reporting, it was just everything just clicked. And it was all meant to be. And it was just another language, but through my hands. So it was new and exciting and different, but the structure still fit. It's all syllabic and phonetic. And it's everything I had been learning up to that point primed me to be a court reporter without even knowing it.
That is so cool.
It feels really meant to be.
Yeah, it was so meant to be. You found the perfect thing. Was there a person or someone that got you into court reporting?
Yes, but it was actually not even a good friend or anything. I was working at the hostel in Fullerton, which doesn't exist anymore and most people don't even know ever existed. It was just open in the summer for 3 months, and there was someone staying there who was either a paralegal or maybe in school to be a paralegal. And we were just chatting. There's not much to do, like once you clean, And yeah, he just planted the seed. He was like, based on our conversation and what you're good at and what I'm studying and the crossover, have you ever thought about court reporting? And I was like, oh, I've heard of that. I've heard of stenography. Like, what exactly is it? And it aligned perfectly because I was kind of ready to be done teaching. I needed a new challenge or something. I was just ready for a new change. And so he mentioned it, and I Googled it and found South Coast College, which was less than 10 miles away. And the next, kind of like you, Jack, the next semester was starting. Like the same day my next semester at school teaching would have started is the same day the next like round of classes at South Coast started.
Wow.
So I could either continue like teaching or I could leave and become a student again. And I never looked back.
Oh.
Good for you. That's so amazing. I love that all of everything that you studied and learned shaped you for the reporter you are now, which leads me to a question I know the answer to, and I'm actually like really jealous about, to be honest. How long did it take you to get through court reporting school? Everyone's dying to know that, because you know what? I mentioned this on my TikTok. I was like, I know a girl that got through so fast, but nobody really knows. Come on, tell us.
That's so nice. I feel like with voice writers now, it's not as impressive of a record, but at the time...
For us, it is. Yes.
Yes. I was so proud. So I qualified to go to the state exam in 13 months. So a year and a month.
With theory included?
Yeah, everything. Like I passed.
Stop.
Yeah, I passed my Sorry, it's all a blur in my head. But yeah,
I feel like I know it more.
Over a year.
I'm like your number one fan. I feel like I know all. You passed your first qualifier. I still remember it. She passed
someone else's machine. I had to borrow a machine because mine had to be plugged into the wall because it was an old Stentor of like 4,000 or whatever. But yeah, I think because I had been a teacher though as well, it was almost a matter of pride where like, I got to do my homework. I got to show up. I got to be a good student. I like literally have hounded kids for years to like do exactly what now I'm expected to do.
Right.
And so I really just gave it my all. And yeah, I don't think I failed it. Not that I didn't fail a test, but I didn't get held back until 170. Like I was in every speed for 2 weeks. 170 was like 4 or 5 weeks. And it just, the first qualifier, my first CSR, like everything just really worked out.
Wow.
So
you
amazing.
And Jack literally made it look so easy. I think I was stuck in 200 for a year. Yeah.
That's so normal though.
It gets hard at the end. Yeah. But I'm telling you, I manifested.
Like
no, you're not a loser. You did it.
Compared to you
and
guys.
It's more worth it because you worked so hard for it. But yeah, I'm telling you, I saw Molly and I was like tunnel vision, like I'm manifesting that. And I didn't even get through that quickly, but I still, as quick as Molly, but her energy, really, I try to like emulate it and get it inside
Molly
me.
is like literally the funniest person I think I've ever met. I think I told you that, Molly. Like I can look at Molly and we just start laughing. She's so funny.
I remember the night we met, we went out to dinner with a group, and I think they were so over us because we were just cracking up the whole time.
They were like, those two are just laughing. I was like, I just love Molly so much.
I'm so excited for Steno in the City with all of us together. We're going to have so much fun. The only thing I'm worried about is like making it to those.
I know.
all of the seminars because we're just going to be like partying and having so much fun. But no, it's going to happen. We're going to do it. It's going to be fun.
We're going to
love
have fun.
it.
We're going to have fun.
It's a balance.
Yeah, there you go. The balance. We'll go to the seminars, just maybe a little hungover.
Whatever we got to do.
Right.
Molly, did you have, people ask me this all the time too, and I think I answer it differently every single time, but do you have a secret that you think, is it your background that's what made everything connect quicker with you? Or did you have a specific practice routine you did that you think really helped you get through school quickly? Or you just like, I don't know, like I just went in and I tried it and it worked, and I honestly don't have an answer. Like, what do you say when people ask you that?
I think it is a good question, and I can't deny that part of it was, my background just primed me for it. Like, I think there were things that I had experienced and I could apply that every student can't necessarily also say, I have that same background, like that'll benefit me too. So part of it is just because we're all unique and have our own journeys. But I do think that it didn't happen by accident either, right? I was still very diligent. I took it really seriously. So some of my main tips when people ask me is mindset for sure. I know you channel Beyonce.
Yep.
I would always listen to a song by Polish Ambassador. I can't remember the name of the song, but there's like a mantra in it. And it goes, I am amazing. I am unique. I can be anything. I will succeed.
Ooh,
and
I love that.
It's so good. And I had already known the song from years back. And so I like circled back to it and I would play it on the way to class and before tests and stuff. So I think like training in class for it to be the real CSR test and for it to really be school is important, because you play how you practice, or you practice how you play, right? Like every single test, even when it was the 60, you know, like some of the first ever, I would try to go into the zone of like, this is the CSR, because it scared the crap out of me.
Me
I don't
too.
do well
Right,
with
me too.
anxiety,
Me
right?
too.
Like from day one,
Same.
I was like building up the armor to survive through those 10 minutes that like everything comes down to. Like that freaks anybody out naturally, right? So the
Totally.
goal isn't to not be anxious. The goal is to learn how to like work with it and harness it, expect it, but not let it stop you. So I
Love
think
that.
just having that overall perspective going into it, as well as just know that language learning is constantly an uphill battle. Like as soon as you master
Yep.
something, there's gonna be a whole new thing to learn.
Yep.
And so I think
Right.
having lived that, like I lived in Mexico for 2 years. I had studied Spanish for a decade before that, like 8th grade through college. I had studied Spanish. I moved there, I could barely communicate. It took me a solid 6 months or a year before I was like confident and thinking in Spanish. And so it's the same thing with any language. It's the most humbling experience I have ever had. And I think if you just know that going into court reporting school, you're not going to get as beaten down by it. You know, just like expect it. Like you're still learning and you're still progressing, even if you failed a test. So in a nutshell, I think it's that kind of perspective combined with my experience and just like determination that really helped me stick to my schedule and like consistently go through.
That's such a good point, because I feel like even as working reporters, I remember when I was like looking at CSRs while I was in school, I kept thinking, oh, I just want to be them. Like, I can't wait till I'm at that level. Thinking that for some reason, like the second I got that license, there's just something clicked in my brain of like, I did it. I'm a CSR. I'm a court reporter, but like nothing felt different. I was like, I'm still struggling. I'm still learning. And I've been working 5 years. You've 6. And then Des, you're what, 8, 9 years?
Almost 11.
11 years. Oh
Wow.
my God. But it's like we all still talk about the same thing, where it's like, I hate when this happens, or I'm learning this, or I'm like struggling with this. Like, you're right. It's always an uphill. It's just your mindset to, make it not a battle and just make it a situation, make it a learning experience every
Right.
time something comes up. But that's so true. That's all the way from school until you're working. You're always having to learn something new and grasp onto
Yes.
some new concept. I
Yeah.
like that.
And I feel
Baptism
like
by
Molly,
fire.
Yeah,
and I feel like
exactly.
Molly, you're like the epitome of what we tell students all the time when they ask, what advice would you give a court reporting student just starting? How you just said you made a schedule, you were so serious about it, you hit the ground running. It was almost like you were Kobe Bryant, because if you ask Kobe Bryant was always asked, what do you do? What do you do? And his thing was like, I'm not partying, I'm not going out, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. I'm focusing on becoming better at basketball. And I feel like that's you, Molly. You kind of you hit the ground running the minute court reporting school started for you.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I almost took it like a challenge. People were like, well, you get through school in about 2 years. The fastest is 1. And I was like, okay, bet.
Yeah,
Watch me.
I love that.
I didn't. Yeah, I really had no idea like if I'd be good or not. I just knew the theory was clicking and I liked it. So I was like, okay, like watch me do what I can do, you know?
Did you
And it worked out.
have, might be a dumb question, but does something stand out to you as having some sort of struggle in school? Like, were numbers annoying for you, or was like a certain
Yeah.
part of theory really annoying for you and hard to get through? Does anything stand out?
Yeah, there's definitely certain like letters and finger positions that were always harder to me.
Yeah.
Like the sh and j. For whatever reason,
Oh,
I
yeah.
would like, even to this day, I'll still confuse sometimes. I had to think, so because they're parallel, right? The j is right above the sh
Yeah.
for people who don't use a steno machine. And so I find like I had to think of ways in my head to remember, because I just wasn't like the muscle memory wasn't there. I kept getting confused. And so when you say shh, you want them to like quiet and go lower. So it's the lower bar, you know, like
oh, that's a good one to think. A good way to think of it too.
that's what I finally came up with, because I could not. So there were certain specific things like that like my fingers just don't like to do or don't want to. But I don't remember a certain speed holding me back, because everyone had said XYZ speed will hold you back.
Right.
And I consciously like didn't let that penetrate. I like didn't want it to psych me out, because like then it's just all in your head. So much of it is mental, and you build your confidence by accomplishing what you thought you couldn't do. Right? Like, even though it might feel terrible and it might feel humbling and you feel like, oh my God, I just totally stumbled through that, but you still did it. And I think just that like cyclical, like constantly challenging yourself and then making it through builds your confidence that you can do it, builds your confidence.
And I love that because one thing that I always get asked is like, what where people or a lot of students or people who want to do court reporting school ask is, I don't think I or say they I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. I'm like, look, you're already doubting yourself. You're already putting that in your head. And I think Molly, one thing I really do love that you kind of said was you embraced whatever struggle was going to come. You were going to learn to like put that into your routine or not let it get to you. You just embraced everything that kind of came your way. And I think that's where a lot of students struggle too, is not embrace. There's going to be struggle. There's a struggle with anything in life. I always say it. Even now as a reporter, 11 years in, I still struggle with things. I'm constantly hitting people up. Like, what do I do? What would you do? What would you do? So I think
Yes.
if we embrace that there's always going to be challenges, that's going to make us better reporters. So I love, love, love that you said that.
I think you just said that so well too, the way you summarized it. Like that's really the secret ingredient.
Yeah, no, it really is embracing the struggle. There it is.
Molly, do you remember in court reporting school when we had Jean? Shout out to our love, Jean Gonzalez. We love her. She's
Love
the
Jean.
president of our school, and she also was one of the writers of our theory. But she had all these tricks to teaching the steno keyboard. And so she would start off, because you know how like the left side is like STPH, and then like go down for the R and it's an L. So she'd be like Stone Temple Pilot.
Pilot's house.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it with
What?
you.
I love that. That's like a
Stone Temple Pilot's house, and then she'd be like, and then lights for L, and she like had all of these like Stone Temple Pilot's house lights. We're like, okay, but it was just like all these. I can't even remember the. I can't remember the right side, but I remember there was PB peanut butter. And then N and peanut butter and Nutella because PB makes an N and Nutella. Like, I don't know. She had like all these different things that we were like, but yeah, I asked a student recently, I was like, does Jean still do like Stone Temple Pie? They're like, yep, she still does it.
She still got it going.
Stone Temple Pilot's house. I don't remember the rest, but as soon as you started the story, I was like, he's going to say the Stone Temple Pilots.
Yep.
So,
sorry, go. No, you.
Me? So Molly, one thing I wanted to ask you is there anything that you wish school would have taught you now that you're a working reporter and, looking back, is there something you wish school would have taught you personally, if there's anything you want to share?
Yeah, I think our school programs are amazing, but there's obviously so much in the real world to learn once you get out there because you're focused on the skill, right? Like actually taking down the record in school. And then you factor in having to deal with attorneys and all of that. So I think it's hard for school to hit all of those. But I think for me, the biggest challenge the first couple weeks of working was the time management of a job start to finish.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like to get those exhibits sent off, to get those cover pages done, to know when the proofreader will send it back to you for you to, like to make sure everything is done by the deadline. Oh, and then you also took other jobs. So like those are on their own, 8, 10, 12 day, whatever turnaround. So that I was so focused on the transcript and I sat out a lot. Like shadowing is such a good way to learn what school can't teach you. And I did that a lot and I learned a lot from it, but I hadn't gone through the motions of actually sitting down and going through the whole 100+ page transcript from that day of sitting out. I was just focused on the shadowing. And for my own self, I realized I did myself a disadvantage because I had never worked in a transcript longer than 15 pages in school. Like the 10-minute CSR is 12 to 15 pages.
Right.
So then my first job was 10 times that. And I was like, oh, so I knew I could do it. I did not realize it would take me an hour to do 10 pages, for my first transcript. So I think just that full circle time management of it all, from the shorthand to getting the job turned in would have been more helpful.
That's a good one too, because I don't know when you guys started if it was busy. When I started, it wasn't that busy. So there was an 8 business day turnaround time and agencies were so strict on that dang turnaround time. Like they were already hounding, I think on the 7th business day, they were already emailing you like, just want to confirm that tomorrow we'll have the job. And you were like,
Rude.
Oh God, I just took this last week. Like you were already stressing. I mean, now the turnaround time is so much more lax. You don't have to worry about it so much. But yeah, you're right, Molly. There also needs to be a crash course on how to deal with attorneys, because that right there I was not prepared for.
Yes,
absolutely. Molly, you are self-employed. We talked about this in the beginning, but we never covered exactly what you do. So do you want to just talk about what you do as a stenographer, freelancer?
Sure. Yes. So it's similar to what you guys do. I mostly just take depositions and some arbitrations here and there. So just to explain it for people who maybe have no idea, even though half of you listening are probably very familiar, but I am my own business. So I work with different court reporting agencies. I remember when I first started out, I was corrected that I don't work for them. I
Right,
work with
them.
them. And that was really powerful for me. Like that set the tone really. So I can choose which agency to work with, and they have a list of jobs. So basically, they're the middleman. The attorney needs to take a deposition and they need a court reporter. So they go to the agency who says, we have tons of court reporters, which I used to do to babysit. Like I would go to a babysitting website to like get matched. That's how I was an au pair in Rome. Like it's just funny. It's the same. All freelancers kind of do something similar. You either find your client directly or there's a middleman. Yep. But yeah, so I book myself out a few weeks ahead of time. You always got to be prepared for cancellations and changes and whatnot. I'm trying to lean more into arbitrations and build up to bigger work, but real time still scares me. But I do use a Scopus all the time. I sat out with Jack to check out freelancing in court. So I'm kind of trying to build my repertoire. But for the most part, yeah, I work from home and in person, LA, Orange County, sometimes the Inland Empire. Well, yeah, mostly doing depots.
We had that when you sat out with me. We had this guy, this pro per representing himself.
Of course.
And he started yelling at, first of all, I interrupted him. He had a thick accent too. He was just really hard to understand. And I just said, the what? Like I just said, can you please repeat that? And he was like, I'm talking to the judge right now. You don't need to interrupt me. I was like,
of course, Molly would sit out on a job like that.
No, of course. I'm telling her all these like great stories. And then of course, the second you sit out, you're going to get some weird, but that's good. That's what you need to see, like what could happen, you know? Thank God the judge was so nice.
Arbitrations you get. In arbitrations, you do get pro pers too. And you're like, oh my God, that's different for you to deal with for sure. But thank God you had that nice judge because.
Yeah, he was like, sir, this is a court reporter. He's typing down what you're saying. So that's why he's asking you, what are you saying? Can you please repeat it for him?
He's helping you out with your case.
Yeah, exactly. That was really funny.
That was.
Okay, so you do depositions. Now, have you ever been self-employed before, or was this your first time being like self-employed and doing work like this?
I feel like it's my first like proper time being self-employed.
Oh, you said babysitting.
Babysitting, tutoring. Okay. Yeah, I was a tutor as well. Like when I was in court reporting school, I stopped teaching, but I would still tutor in the afternoons. And that was sometimes through an agency and sometimes they would just, hire me directly. But that was always just, like an hour here or there, or really small. I never had a proper business to run like I do now. So I'd say it's really my first experience.
Oh, good.
Very cool. Let's just get into it.
Yes.
How do you budget out your money?
The monies of it all.
The money of it all.
Right.
So, like, do you save a certain amount for taxes? Do you have a spreadsheet that you plan everything? Do you have a certain budget for like groceries, every little thing? Because I'm really bad with budgeting like that. I can do the basics, but when it comes down to like spending money on certain things, I'm really bad. And I'll buy $1,000 Beyonce ticket and not really think about it.
You didn't plan for that. Also, too, I think not a lot of people know with freelance, your paychecks are never the same. 1 week they could be this high, the next 2 weeks they could be super low. It's always like roller coaster. So how are you able to? Yeah, like Jack said, how do you budget your money on in those times too, when it's high, when it's low?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, Des, because I had also never had a job where the income is so varied and not as reliable. I've found that it absolutely always balances out. So even when there is a slow week, I've learned not to worry because 2 days later you're going to be slammed, and vice versa. You might feel like you're drowning for a week and then the next week it's just like, oh, another cancellation. I'm so upset.
Yeah.
So it can depend. So I'd say because of that, I look at things in like a month at a time. So I have a vague goal for how much to work or how much to earn for a week, but it definitely, like the bigger picture is really what you need to focus on because you can't control how those weeks will go.
Right.
I think my biggest asset has, especially with getting started, has actually been my dad because he owned his own business back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He and his brother had a business in Orange County. And so it's been a while since then, but his experience has been really beneficial. And he was kind of like, you need to do this and you need an Excel and and I was like, okay, I'm glad you know that what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Those Excel spreadsheets are like, you feel like such an adult with them too.
Yes, Excel is life. But I will say, he set me up with a really fancy one. Like he made all of the formulas, of like, if a copy, then apply this page rate, which was really cool.
Oh my God.
But I couldn't hang. Like I would type one thing in wrong and then mess up the entire column.
Right.
And so I realized I started putting off like tracking my work because it felt like a chore because it was too complicated. So that was a really good learning curve for me of all I track now is basically the date of the job, the name of the deponent, the agency, the date that I invoiced, how much I invoiced, and then when I'm paid and how much I'm paid. So I don't actually, yeah, because I used to track on the spreadsheet, you know, copy orders and this and that, but I realized all of that's on the invoice. So unless you're really interested, some people like to know how many jobs get copies or roughs or whatever. Like to each their own is a big part of this. You have to find what works for you and what you can continue doing. So I learned simplicity is best, and I stay up on that. And then, yeah, you asked about planning for taxes and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
None of that comes out of your paycheck when you're freelance, right? So the actual money you're getting is kind of like a fake amount because it's not really all yours.
Fraud.
Kind of is. Rude.
I know, right? Disrespectful.
Yes. It's like fine. Like there's not really any way around it. So I guess
I know,
we'll embrace it.
real.
But
Seriously.
I'd say I think it actually what I pay in taxes is probably close-ish to 25%, just a ballpark. But I take 40% out of every paycheck because I also want to contribute to my retirement. And to me, those just made sense to group together. So I think everyone and their mom should have a high yield savings account, which is just a savings account that you get a higher percentage to keep your money in there. Like with my credit union, I think I get like 1 penny in interest or something. Like, so it's like $1 a year, but then a high yield savings account can be like 4% or something. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got that tip from a court reporter actually when I was starting out. So every single paycheck, I transfer 40% into a savings account. And then once that is at 4 figures or higher, or, you know, a certain amount, I'll transfer that into my high yield savings account. And then every 3 months, I'll transfer a chunk back out to then pay my estimated taxes or my quarterly taxes. So
yeah, that's smart.
It might sound like a lot, but it's just buttons on my phone. You know, it's really not that big of a
right.
So this, yeah. So the second I get the money, I take out the 40% just because I need it to be separate like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe other people would prefer to do it at the end of the month or something, like total of how much you made, just do one transfer. That wouldn't work for me. I would I'm not good with numbers, so it's got to be as soon as it comes in, I'm managing it. So that's really like my main thing that I do is try to stay on top of it.
That's what I do too. I have Wealthfront, the high yield savings account, and I think that's like at 4.5% for the savings. That's really good. Yeah, and it does because like Molly said, there's times where I look and I'm like, oh my God, there's just accumulated money, you know, just
free
money sitting in there. Yeah, it's free money. But also what I do too, and I kind of do something similar to Molly, I only take out 30%. I'm like, no way, I'm not taking out anymore. But I have an account for taxes. Then I have my business account. And then I have my regular account that I share with like my husband. And then, so I transfer money over there and then take out 30%. And then we do our bills. You know, we have a spreadsheet for our bills, whenever that amount is. And then whatever's left over, we just kind of put it savings. Cause you know, there's times where expenses are higher. Your invoices are higher too. So yeah, you have to really learn to budget for sure. And if I want to buy something, I budget it on the next paycheck. And that way I kind of look at it as like, okay, it's not money really coming out of this chunk where I have plans for this money. It's going to come out of the next, you know what I mean? So that helps too. But I like Molly, the 40%. Maybe I need to step it up over here.
Oh, that sounds like so
it's
much.
High.
It is high.
It is a lot. It's hard to, I think maybe like I had built up enough of a cushion so that I was less reliant on the money coming in so that I could take out 40%, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like if, you know, like if your minimum balance in your bank account, like I'm only comfortable with it going so low because I want like a little nest egg in there to roll into the next month because I'm not sure what I'll make the next, if that makes sense. Like I think I keep a higher amount than I need as like a baseline in most of my accounts, just in case, you know, like I don't get paid as soon as I think I will, or sometimes when you work with an agency that isn't your usual, then that money will come in 3 weeks after you normally are used to getting paid. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like, so anyway, a 40 is kind of steep. I didn't initially start off with that. I'd say like only do it if you can afford it. And it also depends how much you want to put into your retirement. And then I'll also say I'm single. Like I live with my boyfriend, but as far as taxes and budget and whatnot, how you do that and how you plan for that can be completely different depending on if you're single or have a family or dependents or whatever, right? So I'm kind of single and 30, no kids, no pets. I'm kind of in my prime, and I never had a retirement account until I was like 29 or 30 because I spent my 20s sort of bebopping around and living abroad, and I never had like a proper income or like I've never had an office career. So anyway, all of that to say, I lost my train of thought.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Don't worry. We all do that all the time.
You're saying all the things. I'm learning so much. I feel like I have like way more basic than even you guys. So I'm kind of like, I love what I learned about the high yield savings thing. That's going to be my next thing. I literally
Yeah,
turned
definitely
30 a
enjoy it.
week in a week. So I'm like
Yes.
ready to step up that aspect. I feel like too, I was very like, I'm traveling, I'm doing this, um, which is good and all
Yeah.
fun, but I feel like 30 is the good age to really hone in on the finances and start really preparing for your future and like
Right.
making your money work for you kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. And I've learned that time is really your biggest asset
Right.
because of
Right.
compound interest and just the way the market works. Like the longer your money's in there, the higher your return will be, is at least how it's been explained to me.
Right.
I really just know the basics, but I feel like I've got the basics like covered. And
But
then the
that's what you
next
need
step
is
up
the
I don't get.
basics.
Yeah,
That's what you need is the basics.
the
And
bare minimum.
if I could tell a student or a new reporter anything, get a separate like a business account where all of your money goes in. And
Yes.
then you could pay your proofers and scopists, whatever you're going to pay. Any business you need a laptop, you're going to pay it out of that account. And that way, come tax time, all you need is your statements. Meaning that now I have a bookkeeper, so they do all of that. So that right there. But when you're new and you're starting out, you're not going to get a bookkeeper because it's pretty expensive.
Right.
That way, you know where to go to find your expenses. You just log it all like that. You're not searching 75 accounts to find. Oh my god, I bought a laptop, but what card did I use for that? Because I have
Yes.
a business, Molly, I'm sure, Jack, you too,
Hmm.
probably have a business credit card too.
Yes.
Just in the event an unexpected expense comes up, you at least have that little cushion right there just in case. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't want to use my cash. I'm just going to use this and I'll pay it off the next paycheck. I'll budget it
Yeah.
in later.
Get
Yep.
those points, credit card points.
Exactly.
Yep.
Which that's also part of my budget. Go ahead, Jack, though.
No, I was just gonna say I have my black card, my Amazon Black business card, and I love it.
Oh, you're official.
Fancy.
You're official for sure.
So
Yes.
official.
And I also really quickly the Excel spreadsheet for the invoicing. I love how you made it simple. I do itemize because there's times where there's discrepancies, and I'm like, all right, I need to see what exactly there's where my because sometimes agencies forget to add like a copy, a rough draft, and I want to be able to see. But also how you're like, I already know how much the invoice is. I can just look at the job. There's different ways to do it. So what I do too is I write it down on my iPad once the job is done. And if I fall behind on invoicing, I can just go to my iPad, see what I wrote down, and then just transfer it that way too, So you just gotta find a system that works. There's another girl on here, I forgot her, Anna. She has like a whole system, and I'm like, oh my god, I love that system, but that's just not gonna work for me. I cannot. But she's really good at it, so we'll have to attend her class at Send on the City to see how she does it.
Yeah. It's really about what works for you. Like it's really I used to give the advice of if you're starting something new or trying to figure out how to do something, whether it's court reporting or not, first be a sponge, be inquisitive, ask all of the questions, get all of the perspective you can, like sponge it all up. And then at some point, like when you're saturated, block it all off and find what works for you.
Yes,
Don't
learn the
don't
basics.
Yeah, like don't take the advice that didn't resonate. Like 5 different people can tell you 5 different ways to do something. You just got to do what works for you, right? Like what makes you successful.
Do either of you have like this might be a weird question, but do you have accounts like with your partner? Because I'm thinking about because Dylan's about to start. He just got his license for ultrasound. He'll start working like this summer because he's building up his clinical hours. But yeah, but
Hey,
I'm really
Dylan.
excited to like. It's really powerful when you have like a life partner, your person, and you're both making money, and that's a whole new thing that I'm like really curious about, but I'm not sure exactly what the best thing to do is. But it can be something simple if you both throw in a couple $100, but something that can build quickly. So do either of you have an account or anything like that with your person yet, or do you want to? Or
Molly, you can go ahead and go first.
Yeah, I actually just did that for the first time. My boyfriend and I have been living together at least 3 years. But the way we split finances, we're like, you handle this, I'll handle that. And, works out kind of evenly. But we just recently changed it and we opened a SoFi account, which is purely online. Like, I don't think they have any brick and mortar. And so we'll transfer the grocery money or household expenses money into that and then charge it from there. So rather than the money coming from our separate accounts and then, like making sure it's equal, we'll put it into a joint pot and then buy from there. And so that's just for groceries and whatnot. Like I don't pay my rent from that account. So we've just kind of started figuring out that process, I guess.
that's cool.
Which is exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting.
Yeah, but Des, you're all married and stuff, so you might
I
have
know.
a different
Yeah,
setup.
I am that I'm married, so for sure I have my own business account. My husband can't be on the business account, and just me. So all the money goes in there. My paychecks go in there, and then I'll just transfer a certain amount over. But his paychecks they come in that joint account. Okay, they come in the joint account. Okay, mine aren't, but yours are. So we just do it like that. But I will say, Jack, the advice I could give you is is I like how Molly did it, where you guys still have your own money, but you guys kind of come together in your own account. You know, you're going to pay for stuff, even if it's 50-50, but you guys still kind of have like your individual accounts. Just, it's always good to be, you know, your own person, have your own money. I do love that my husband and I share, but there's times where I'm like, okay, it would be, you know, maybe we can have something separate. And I tell him too, if you want to open up your account, have your own money, that's okay too, because I think that's also so healthy. But we come together when it comes to the bills, groceries, anything like that too. So that's a good way to put it.
I love
agree.
that. Back to your retirement plan. What is your retirement plan? Where did
Yeah, like
you
how much
find
do you
it?
put
How do you,
away?
yeah, and how much do you, I mean, if you're comfortable sharing that. I have like a Roth IRA right now that's like one of my only, so I don't even know if that's technically a retirement thing, but it's just an
Yeah.
account that, you know, but
No,
That
that's
is.
retirement.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I have a guy that just like does it. I put in, I think I give like 200 or 300 a month more if I can, but he kind of gave me a figure like you'll have this much by the time you're 62 or whatever. I was like, cool, that's good. Like, that's great. But obviously I need to do more. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The way I looked at it was like, the more I can put in right now at 30, that money is what's going to grow the most by the time I'm 65 and eligible to take this money out, right? Or
Right.
whatever the age is. You can be earlier.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's why I kind of wanted to like go hard in the beginning, because I felt a little late to start retirement. And then, yeah, the longer the money's in there, the more interest it'll gain. And I will say I'm not incorporated. I'm just a sole proprietor. I'm not an S corp. So the retirement accounts that you're eligible to have do depend on your type of business.
Right.
And I don't fully understand, but I know my accounts will need to change when I do become an S corp, because what I have right now is a Roth, just like you, which the max is 7,000. Like no matter who you are or what you do, the max for the year used to be 6, now it's 7. And that money does not lower your taxable income right now. But when you take it out in the future, whatever, it's a difference of taxes. I think in the future you pay taxes on it. So it doesn't adjust it now, because part of like why I like retirement is it can lower what I'm paying taxes on, right? But that's with my SEP, an SEP or a SEP IRA. So I have a Roth and a SEP. And I think the SEP basically kind of works more like a 401k would, where that's more of like your classic retirement plan,
Right.
where it's tax deductible now. And I put a higher percentage into that. And those, I think you can do like 20 or 30% of your income. Like that's where you can put the biggest chunk away. And my goal for that is usually 10. So it lowers my taxable income by 10. And then if I can also max out the Roth, then I feel like I'm doing really well. But that's a lot of freaking money every month when I actually like balance, like
I know.
budgeted it
I'm
out.
like, dang.
Jeez. And then
Wow.
also too, when you get to a certain point where you make too much, you can't even use that on your taxes anymore.
You're right, because if you make you're right, I forgot about that. If you the things, it's a sliding scale. So I know what works for me right now, but I know it'll have to change, or if I make too much, yeah,
I think I went over like 1,000 and I was like, what? He's like, you can't add it. I was like, no, 1,000. Let me commit some fraud real quick. I'm just kidding, guys. I did not. I was just saying like it was only $1,000, you know. So
yeah, that's funny. I think I reserve the right to like change it whenever I need to, you know, like if I want to buy a home or have other expenses come on or work less, or I'm taking a month off this year to go travel Europe just because I want to. And
I love that.
Good for
no
you.
dogs, no kids. I envy that right now, Molly. Don't worry. Love my kids, but I'm jealous.
That's why I like became a freelancer. Like court reporting is just a way to like give me the life I want. I love court reporting. Like I lived a whole life before I found it, where I already knew I was going to have a job that wasn't a 9 to 5, 12 months a year. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew I would like want that structure. And so now, 5, 6 years into the career, I realized I'm not traveling enough. I'm not living the way I like intended to be.
What you signed up for,
you
know? what you thought, why you got into court reporting in the first place. I'm the same way. I'm like, I got to travel. Yeah. That's why I wanted to be a court reporter.
Yeah, but you have to, you don't get paid when you're gone either, right? So you have to save to travel and save to pay your bills while you're gone, and then account for that you won't get paid for 2 to 4 weeks once you get back and start working again. But so I think I have wiggle room though to maybe put a little less into retirement or less into my house savings fund, or, depending on the year or what your priorities are, or, stuff can switch. If you lose somebody that you love, you might want to work a little less and spend more time with family, like whatever is applying to you, like I feel like I'm ambitious right now with what I'm saving for retirement, and it'd be great if I could always put that away. But like, that's just kind of my perspective right now of I'm very unchained and can just sort of selfishly funnel my money for future me. So as long as I can still do that, I'll keep it that amount.
I love
You
that.
know, one thing I know I try to tell myself too is don't be so strict. Like obviously like plan for the future, but have fun. You don't ever know. Tomorrow we could be in a car accident and die, and your
It's so
money's not
true.
going with you. It's not going
I
in the
know.
casket, but your memories are, okay? And
It's
so are
so
my
true.
Louis Vuitton bags. Just kidding.
That's why I'm going to Beyonce in a month.
There you go. Take the ticket with
Yes.
you in the casket, okay?
Right. I know, seriously. Like, ugh.
The
So,
experience is worth it. Yeah.
Exactly.
exactly. So,
Touching still on money, and we didn't even like, I didn't prep you for this topic, but I feel like we should talk about it because it relates to our topic of money, 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 rates and setting your rates. And we get
this is such a
so,
touchy subject.
it's such a touchy subject, and we're going to
It
walk
is.
the slippery slope a little bit.
Be very
But we get
careful.
so many questions. So many people ask, how much do you charge? What is your rate? And I still am mind blown at some of the things people say to this question that we see on Facebook, court reporters that are working or, and all over, brand new court reporters have been working for years and years. I still see stuff where I'm like, you can charge for that? You charge for that? Wait, you don't charge for that? Like, it's so different with everybody. I
It's
mean, it's
hard.
crazy. It's really, really hard. So, this is an open conversation. I'm not necessarily even asking any questions, but like, how did you guys get when you got out of school? Did you talk to someone? I think, Molly, you were one of my first people I went to and said, can you like help me? Like, literally, I don't even know what the basic page rate is. Like, can you just give me a number and I'll put it on my rate sheet? Because I don't know. I literally don't know what to put. I don't know. It's just such a hard and such a difficult thing to figure out, especially when you're first starting.
I agree. I think money is classically taboo. So people don't want to just explicitly tell you, well, this is the industry norm or this is what we
Yeah.
suggest you put. Like, and maybe it wouldn't be right for a school to tell students what they should charge. Like, I get why it's skirted around. But yeah, on the other hand, you're supposed to go to work for the first day and you have no idea, like, even the ballpark of what you should be charging. So it's a little bit tough. Yeah. But I do think like when it's official like that, it makes sense to be quiet about actual numbers. But I do think when we're just talking with colleagues, I think because we're freelance, we talk about numbers and what we make maybe more freely than people who are like competing in the same office or might have different salaries for the same job, and then there's bad feelings and bosses. Like that hierarchy doesn't exist. So I do enjoy being able to talk about it with colleagues of like, well, what do you think your value is? Or how come you charge higher for that? Or, oh, but you charge less for that and I charge more for that. Like there is that wiggle room, and you have to kind of find like your comfort level once you've seen the general range, right? Like
Yep.
what's on Facebook isn't always the full range. It's
Correct.
just what these people feel comfortable charging. And I think we all have the same skill. We all have the same license, but I do think the more experience you have, the more work you can take on that results in more money, right? It's not about,
Thank
yeah.
you.
And so it's not
Yes.
about being less valuable as a new reporter. Like the skill is just as valuable, right? Like the license is worth what we're making. But if you're brand new, you're probably just going to be charging minimums, right? Or like, the basic page rate. Maybe there isn't a rough, maybe there isn't a videographer, maybe there aren't 4 attorneys present that want a copy. It's just, a
Right.
basic personal injury with like one defending attorney. So only one potential copy.
Mhm.
So it's like, I don't think it's about nickel and diming or like overcharging when you first start. Like you naturally will just take on jobs that benefit you and like offer you a higher income earning potential.
Right, because I agree with you, Molly, and I know this might be something people get upset about that I'm going to say, but doesn't matter. I don't think a new reporter should be billing the same rates as that of a reporter that's 10 years. I wasn't billing the same rates when I was starting out as a reporter who had 10 years ahead of me, who had so much more experience, who takes these technical jobs where I'm just starting out. And I think that's where we're having a big issue. When I started doing depots in 2015, we didn't have rate sheets. The agency sent you what they were going to pay you, and that was what you took because it was so slow. And I think a lot of reporters forget, with all of the now voice writers and new students coming in, we could get back to that point if we continue to bill for all of these. There's times I see things, I think a reporter billed a sitting fee. I don't know what the sitting fee was, and I'm like,
I
what?
want that.
And I think if more reporters and new reporters knew that agencies track how much they make off of certain reporters, yeah, they do that, and people don't like to hear it. They're like, they shouldn't be doing that. Well, their agencies are in the business to make money too. We're all a team. I
Yeah.
can't fault them if I'm so expensive, but this reporter could do probably the same thing I do, and attorneys like her, but they could make more off of her. I'm not going to fault an agency for that. So I would say also be very mindful of what you bill. There are times where I'm like, I don't need to bill that. I could bill it. I'm not going to. It's just the way it is, because I feel like we've just gotten to a point where we're billing for every single thing, and I'm like, we can't we're going to price ourselves out of the market. And right now with AI coming in and all that stuff, we have to be very careful. Now, I'm not saying to not bill your worth. We definitely need to. We have a skill, but just be mindful. If you I always tell people, what did I say, Jack? Just because you can bill it doesn't mean you should.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. I think too, being like befriending agency owners, court reporting agency owners, and just hearing a little bit of like their perspective and
Mhm.
Mhm.
their margin of like what they're actually making.
Mhm.
It's not like crazy big, like, and especially the more people keep charging, the less and less they're making. So it's like, ugh, you want to
Mhm.
be, for me, it's this battle of you want to be a really attractive candidate. I want, yes, okay, if I charge a big rate for something, they might like last minute use me for that because they just need someone. But then are they going to use me the day that they have, 4 or 5 different jobs that could be taken in one day? Am I going to be the person they're going to reach out to? And you're going to make way more on those 4, 5, 6 jobs in a day than your one job that you charged a little more for. And it was like a
Right.
last minute thing. So I think it's that battle for me of I want to be the one they text right away. I want them to, I
Mhm.
want to form those
Mhm.
relationships and have them text me the full list and give me, priority to pick the jobs I want. And I
Right.
think that all has to deal with like how much you charge and what kind of reporter are you and your tenacity and all those things. So it's an interesting
Yeah, I
topic.
agree. When I started out, I asked, because I wanted to just be like, I wanted to be a staff reporter. I just wanted to get like where agencies just send me work. And I remember I asked a seasoned reporter, I was like, what do I have to do? Like, what can I want to get the good jobs that eventually when I'm like 5 years in, what do I have to do? And she's like, all I could tell you is be a team player. Be a
Mhm.
team player. You are on the side of the attorney and you're on the side of the agency. She's like, if an agency has questions, answer them. Ask attorneys questions. All of us are working together to produce the transcript. But when you just submit a transcript and you're like, I'm done, agency's problem, not mine, that's an issue. Helping everybody is going to benefit you more because agencies are going to trust you with their top clients. I'm like, that's true. Because agencies do, they have top clients. They're clients that they're going to take care of. They don't want to lose them. So they're going to give those clients to their top reporters. So, like Jack
Mhm.
said, you want to be the one they text, because they know that you're going to take care of their clients. Same
Totally.
concept. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think those relationships are really valuable as
yes.
well and worth balancing out with your rates. Like I agree with both of you. I think there's a minimum, nobody should go below, right? Like charge your
Right.
worth. But I definitely think when it's an agency that like you click with, you like the way they work, you like their clients, you guys have a good rapport, you're gonna earn more money in the long run by being their go-to and getting and being trusted with those jobs. And like Jack said, being able to book yourself out earlier or getting more info, that will get you more money than if you just jump on one big job that has a huge per diem or that you can nickel and dime all these little upcharges for. Like that's a
Mhm.
one-time big job, but if you don't have any sort of relationship with that agency, there's no guarantee you'll get that job again. You can't
Right.
plan for it or expect it in the same way. And I think some people like to more be floaters and play the last minute coverage game. And I think for some people that's probably
Right.
their wheelhouse. But I'm a little bit more like Jack, and I think like you, Des, where I have like my home base, my main agency, and the same few others that I prefer to work with because it's more comfortable. Like I know they'll respond to me. I know their clients more or less, and I think that it doesn't mean you have to charge less, but I think when you're trying to figure out what type of business you are and what kind of reporter you are,
Right.
there's Walmarts and there's mom and pops, and
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I kind of thought about it that way the last time I was doing my rate sheet, and I got a bunch of rates from a bunch of people, like 40-year veterans, newer
Mhm.
reporters. I finally remembered to get like the agency's rate sheets as well because I was just focusing on reporter rate sheets. So I was like,
Hmm.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
what is the agency's like baseline, But I remember kind of thinking like anybody in any business, your whole goal could be profit, like
Mhm.
it could all just be about that, or it could be about your clientele and your longevity. And it just depends, there's no right or wrong way. Like we
Totally.
live in a capitalistic society. Like if you
Right.
just want to make money, like you can't be faulted for that. But I learned for me personally, like I like to support my local cafe down the street where I go and proofread for hours. Like I'd rather go there than Starbucks, right? I'll still go to Starbucks, but you know, like being a consumer is powerful. So I think that it took me a few years, but I realized that applies to being a business as well. And I can choose how I want to work and who I want to work with, and you know, the relationships versus the money. And I think you can have it all and make a lot of money and have a good working relationship. Like it doesn't have to be one or the other. But yeah, I think each individual has to figure that out for themselves. And that's something school can't teach you as well. Like what kind of business person you want to be.
I love that. That's also good. I have a question for you, Molly, because I haven't done a deposition in so long and I'm curious to see.
Stop.
You've left us.
I know. Sorry.
You're not sorry. It's okay.
I literally will never be back. I'm just kidding.
How are you?
No, if there was like a pinch or someone really needed me, but I mean, they do. They send. I see a lot of stuff like, "Can you take this step?" I'm like, I don't
Jack,
know.
Look at you, Jack. You're like, no. You're like, you feel like you're going to the prison again.
Well, I'm also getting to that point where I'm like, do I remember? I think it'll be second nature, and honestly, probably a lot easier because once you get into Q&A for me, is like, love that. But as far as like formatting and different things, it's like not completely different, but it's different, and there's little things you have to change. I'm like, well, I remember like how to actually do that again, but I'm sure it's like riding a bike, right?
Yeah.
But how is it going with the stipulation for going for code versus stipulating? Have you had one of those situations in a while, or it's been super fine, super good, easy?
Yeah, that's a moot point now.
Oh, I love that. Okay, good.
Yeah. When I first joined the field, I think for you too, it was huge. Like
yes.
It was a big deal.
Right when we got out, it was like we had to be educated on that, and I wasn't. I knew what to say, but I didn't know what it meant. And I'm like, I go by code. 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 But it's like that's all they told us to say.
It was so stressful. Like the end of a depot, you were like, oh. And I remember I was part of the ones that started when we were all like, we're going to do it. And I was like, okay, mind you, I was still a baby reporter. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. Right. Like now I'll be like, I'll do it. Shoot. But back then I was like, no. The minute it got to the end, I was like, I'm going by code. And I'd like flinch up because it was like plaintiff. It was only the plaintiff's attorneys that were like, no, you're going to make my client go to the office. And I'm like everywhere else in the country. Yeah, I am going to make your client go to the office. Like everywhere else does it. Like, oh, LA traffic. I had this in LA traffic too, buddy. Get your client to go to the office.
But then they switch it to where they'll send you like a locked PDF and they can just read it and sign it all PDF. Like I feel like since COVID, they like kind of changed that.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like as if the agency didn't put the log where it would disappear after 30 days, but then you could just screenshot the whole transcript. And I felt like attorneys will do that.
Yeah, oh, totally.
To save hundreds of dollars. But no, well, as far as I know, like the depot world, we're still good, right, Molly?
Yeah, I haven't had that in a long time. Just for the record, the code technically says that the court reporter is obligated or must make the original available to the deponent to review. It doesn't literally say you got to get in your car and sit in LA traffic. Right. It just requires that it be made available. So I often say that, or used to say that back to attorneys of like, yeah, no, actually, like if you knew the code, it just says they have the right to review it. They could come to the office, or I'm sure there could be something else figured out if they really want to see it, you're not going to stipulate right now.
Right. Yeah. Or reporters would say like, oh, you could buy a copy and your client can review your copy. And it was like, that pissed them off even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's the law. I'm glad that's not really a thing. It was scary because I felt like I had to be combative with attorneys like right in the beginning, like my first few months of work. But I think I learned a good lesson though as well. I think just from working around attorneys and seeing how they interact, and then also it helped me with the SoCal Stip and kind of standing my ground, is I realized I didn't have to convince them. I never had to like make them agree with me. I was just simply stating the fact that this is what the law says, and I do my job based on the law.
Right.
And period.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was like, well, I'm going to make them understand. I have to make them understand. I have to make them agree. And when I realized like attorneys agree to disagree all the time. Right. That's like all they do, right? So I realized
they say their things on their side on the record, and then they're done.
Yep.
And then they move on. Yeah. And then they just move on. And I remember that blowing my mind though. I was like, oh, they can just be comfortable like disagreeing. Like that, yeah, that's what their whole job is, right? And so that helped me like, and not to say that I think I'm being rude or anything. It gave me the confidence to stand my ground and just say, no, I go by code. And there's nothing you can say that's going to change that. Like, that's just what it is,
exactly.
You know? Yeah. I think that perspective helps talk to attorneys in general. you
know?
And
we're like protecting our license. Like we're licensed to do this. This is what it is. And you're just going to state it and whatever you say after that doesn't matter. It's moot.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I remember a reporter, I sat in with her and she was, I think I learned from her when she was like, the attorney was giving her crap about it. And she's like, "Counselor, are you done?" And he's like, "I'm done." She's like, "Okay, we're going by code." And that was it. She was just like, "Are you done?" Good.
I love that.
I loved it. I was like,
I
that's
love
so,
that.
it's, yeah, she's like, he got his position on the record. We're going by code. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
That's all there is to it. I love that. I once had the attorney say to me, "Well, I don't care what you think. I want to stipulate." And before I could respond, the other attorney was like, "Well, I hate to break it to you, but what she thinks is what's going to happen."
Yeah.
Like she's the guardian of the record. So,
Right.
but he was so cocky and just like, "Well, I don't care." He was so ready to steamroll me. And it was so nice just to be like, "Yeah, no, that's not what's going to happen."
Yeah.
I love when like another attorney comes in and helps you out or
Yes.
goes to bat for you. That's definitely happened to me as well.
You're like,
Well,
yeah,
I think
2
we
against
should.
1.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should transition now into our case of the week. We just want to touch on it a little
Yes.
bit. We're talking about Selena. Des, do you want to give a little summary of like for people who have been living under a rock their whole life, who Selena is?
Selena Quintanilla Perez was a singer, and I think she was killed, I believe, in 1994 by her assistant, or I think it was her assistant, or it was like her manager of her fan club, Yolanda Saldivar. And Yolanda has been in jail since. Fast forward to this month, actually last week, Yolanda was up for parole because I guess her sentencing included 30 years to life with the possibility of parole, which I was actually pretty shocked because Texas is pretty hardcore out there. Once you kill someone, you're like in there forever. So I was really shocked that she got parole. But last week, the parole board, she went up to the parole board and they denied her parole, which was actually shocking because I thought for sure they were going to let her out. I was like, they're going to let her out. Yeah, because, I will admit, she changed in jail. She's doing a lot of good things, helping people who are in jail, like rehabbing and stuff like that. So she does do a lot in jail, but I think that honestly, she's safer in jail because I think TikTok was going bananas when they're going to get out. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that the parole board got it right? Do you guys think she should stay in jail? Because, Molly, we did talk about the Menendez brothers, how there's, I don't know if you followed with that, how they're, kind of going to maybe get out, I guess. And I think there's a lot of people have been comparing, like, why did the Menendez brothers get to get out as opposed to Yolanda, which I don't think, I guess you can compare the two, right? They both killed,
I don't
but
think so.
the Menendez brothers, they were molested. Yolanda, she just killed this girl, like,
I know,
cold blood
yeah,
murder.
No.
Yeah. So
No.
what do you think? Do you think they got it right? You could compare the two with Menendez and Yolanda too.
Yeah, no, I think Yolanda is not to be trusted.
Yeah.
I think to put it simply, I mean, obviously it's such a high profile murder. Like maybe if it wasn't Selena, she would be out already, right? Like that's working against her. But no, she was a crazy obsessed fan who like founded, I think, the fan club.
Yep.
And like weaseled her way in there and like got put in charge of her like money and assets and stuff. Like I think she went from crazy fan club to business manager.
Yes.
So she like spent years like gaining their trust and like being upset. Like she's obviously unhinged to some degree, I feel like, and thus is not to be trusted. And maybe it was a one-time thing and she wouldn't want to kill anyone else, but I don't think she's like fully right, you know?
Hopefully, right? And I think that's the issue is that Selena's dad was he's not one, like, he doesn't trust anyone. He's really, really strict. And especially when it came to Selena and her finances, when her husband wanted to be with her, he was like, yeah, of course he wants to be with you. You're rich, you're beautiful, you have all this, you have all this money. And so when this all happened, it was really shocking just because it was like you were so hard on him for wanting to date your daughter, even though he had his own money, but you let this woman in and control finances at that. Yeah, I think that what Yolanda has done, how she killed her, kind of just in a hotel room and just shot her, and Selena had to run, and I think she ran after her to try to shoot her again.
I think she did shoot her in the back. I could be wrong. Yeah.
And she like bled out. But no, I agree. I think, like I said, she's safer in jail because I think the minute she got out, I think one of the fans would have took her for the team and killed her.
I was going to say, I'd be terrified for her if she did get out because, like, how long is she? Like, she'd have to live behind a gate somewhere and be, like, protected. But, like, who's going to want to protect her? Like, I don't know. There's just a lot.
I don't know.
I think it was malicious. Right, exactly. I think it was malicious. I think it was intentional. I think it was, jealousy, manipulation. I think she was a kind of a psychopath. And I'm glad that she's learning and evolving, but I do think her place to learn and evolve is right where she is.
Yeah, I agree. And she's up for parole again in 5 years. I'm curious if
Seriously?
they're yeah. So it's like and I think in Texas it's every 5 years, so she won't be
Wow.
eligible until 2030. I think I could be. I'm not. I read a paper that said that in 2030 she'll be eligible again. So
Okay.
I'm curious if they're just going to keep denying her, because I know that there's people. I don't know who else. There's a man who just keeps going up in California like almost every couple of years, and they keep denying him. They're like nope, 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 nope. So I'm curious if they're just going to keep denying her, or if maybe they might let her out. I don't know. I'm just shocked that Texas did the parole.
Yeah, I wonder why. Maybe with enough time, they would let her out eventually, but I don't
You
know.
think so?
I mean, I don't know. Like 50 years could be long enough. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily safe either. But yeah, I think with the Menendez brothers, if you are going to compare, I think they have a lot of like evidence that wasn't originally included, and the molestation and all that stuff that could factor into it. Whereas I feel like with Yolanda and Selena, like it is what it is, there's not extenuating circumstances to introduce or retry or reconsider. So to me, that's why they're different. They're both murders, but the Menendez brothers seems to have a whole lot more to uncover and proof, like letters from the 80s and stuff,
Literally. Yeah.
Right.
There's stuff that needs to be heard 1000%.
Yeah, I'll have to get an update on that next week, because I'm curious. I think since the DA denied or kind of went back on his decision, I think that it's just been kind of hectic over there. So we'll have to get an update next week on that.
Craziness. So now we're going to transition to our last and final, what is it called? Segment. Our last and final segment. I'm like, sorry.
You were staring at us. I was like,
it's been a long weekend.
No, I did that earlier. I was like, and in conclusion, I forgot what I'm saying.
And
it's like a Zoom depot where we're all just staring for a minute, and you're like, is he frozen on your side?
Like,
yeah, he froze.
Word, come to me, word.
The
brief of the week.
Brief of the week.
Right. The brief of the week. Molly, did you come prepared to get a brief, to tell us a brief? What's the situation? Brief of the week.
Yes, I need help. I need help making a brief. I realize this every single deposition uses the phrase entitled to your best estimate, not entitled to a guess. I do entitled to in like 3 or 4 strokes.
Oh God.
I need help. I tried to do a brief the other day on the record, but then it came out toilet. Because I try to make entitled like toitled.
That's the worst. I can't tell you the amount of times I'm looking at my like real time, and I always have ass. It's something ass, ASS, like something ass. Like lost. One time I wrote lost vague ass, and it was VAGUE ass. I'm like, okay, we're defining like literally vague ass. I'm like, honey, I do not have a vague ass. It's pretty real. It's pretty right there. I'm just kidding.
You better recognize.
It's pretty vague. Vague and ambiguous. No, see, one time, I have, for some reason, my briefer document is DOK, and then like for dog, I'll have like a flag it. But, you don't stroke the T, it comes out cock. So I remember when I was doing real time, and it said like, did you review the cock before coming to today's deposition? And the attorney looked at the real time and he just laughed, and I was like, what is he laughing at? And then I looked, I was like, oh my God, and I had to hurry up and go change it. Yes, those misstrokes are so wild sometimes, because you're like, what the hell?
I always want to try to explain something like that, but it's not even worth it. It's like, see, it came out cock because see the K and the T actually make a D and my fingers slip. But it's like, I always want to be like, I swear, like it was close to being right. But
and it makes the situation 10 times worse, because they're like, it's okay.
That is so funny. I actually do. I can't do all those phrases, but I do. I think I do NIL for entitle, nil. And then I do nilled for entitled. And then I'll do nilt for entitled to.
It's good, nil.
NIL. Like just, that's super easy. But
I like that.
That we're entitled to. But it's really easy to just do we're nilled, like we're entitled.
Yeah,
as opposed to doing all that.
Yeah, I love that. Sorry. I do like even the N prefix and then titled, like, yeah, it's silly.
I like that.
So I like,
I just do EN for entitled with the star, with the asterisk. Sorry, I say star, but with the asterisk EN, and then entitled to ET flagged. Entitled to your best estimate is EPLT flagged. I could do the flag, but yeah, I do the flag. Entitled to your best estimate, and then what was the other one that you stated?
Or they say like not entitled to again. Really just entitled to.
Oh, then not entitled to, like you're not entitled to whatever, is NEN. Like
Wow.
I kind
Wow,
of try to do
that's
it like
good.
I
that.
like
Yeah.
that. So sorry, when you said you do ET
Yeah.
for
NET.
Mm,
NET with the
Flag.
asterisk. Oh,
Flag. With the asterisk. Yeah, I say
I
flag.
like
Yeah.
that.
Asterisk.
I
Yeah.
like the flag
I
is
try.
asterisk. Okay.
I know. Molly, if you haven't figured it out by now, just make up my own shit around here.
we love
What did
that.
I say last week, Jack? I was like, I know it's colicky, but I say colicky because
Oh,
I'm
I
like, it's just crap.
Colicky, yeah.
Like,
No,
it's just
exactly. We don't.
colicky babies. Yeah.
Who cares?
That made me laugh so hard.
I
My
have
camera
one.
went blurry. Sorry, guys.
No, that's okay.
No,
I
you're
think if
fine.
you
You're
hold your
fine.
hand up, sometimes it'll
It
focus
worked
better.
last
But
time.
I need one for this is said every single hearing, and it drives me
Here we
absolutely
go.
insane. I'm like, can I please stop writing this in 3 strokes? Substantive.
SUT flagged. Sorry, everything's gonna be flagged
That's
for me.
it.
Mhm.
SUT. Sut.
I
I
like
make
that.
it. That's
But
why I use the
that's
asterisk
good.
or flag, whatever, so much because it simplifies every. You don't really use it with
Word.
your regular wording. Like you don't use it at all. So you use
Mhm.
it with that. Makes it so easy. Yeah, substantive. SUT flagged. Boom. Sut.
That's a good
Sut.
one.
I love that
Wait,
Molly's like
Molly,
writing
I
this
need
down.
to ask you. Molly, I need to ask you because we had this on week 2. Do you have a brief for appearances?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I do Pierce.
Yeah.
Like it's all just one.
Everyone
Okay,
but Jack.
I do now. Gosh, I do that.
Love you so much, Jack. But that even like Whitney and I were like, what?
Yeah, she's like, really? You don't have a brief for appearance? Like, what the hell
Because
is wrong with you?
we were bracing for like a 3-stroke word. So we're like, okay, ready? And you're like, appearances. I was like, wait, what?
I know.
That's how I felt about my entitled to. I was like, how do I not have a
Have
brief
it.
for
I know.
entitled to?
It's
Every
crazy.
single job. Yeah.
It's the nastiest like little phrase ever. Entitled to.
I know. It's icky.
Wait,
Well,
Molly, did you have a brief or substantive? Did you have one? I'm sorry.
oh
I
yeah.
cut
Do you
off.
do something
Do
to
you got
that?
one?
I'm trying to think. What came to mind was like I would probably do like stant, like with the star maybe,
That's a
like
good
the
one.
middle. But I don't
Mm.
think I actually do. That's just the idea that came to mind. I feel like sut's better. Or like
Yeah, I try to
subbed.
make my briefs or like
Mhm.
phrases like kind of like how the words sound, so that way it's just easier for me to remember. You know what I mean?
I
So
love
and
Yeah.
like with real time when I do briefs, everything's gonna get the asterisk because I'm like, okay, I know it's a brief with the asterisk. I'm gonna make it simple.
it.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I love that asterisk.
that is
Oh, me
good.
too. I use that thing. I use and abuse that thing like crazy.
Well, Molly, we want to thank you so much for
Yes.
coming on the Steno Pod. This was so informative and amazing, and I've definitely learned something. I think our listeners will definitely learn something as well. And we just appreciate you coming on. We love you so much and can't wait to
Love
see you
you.
in New Orleans.
Yay!
Steno in the
What?
city. Ah.
I just want to say, like Molly, after today, I think I'm gonna trust you with my. I'm gonna put you on my will. I'm gonna trust you with my finances. You're gonna be like my executive or my executor on my will.
Ooh, that's kind of
The
fun.
it's ironic because I'm not a numbers person. I'm a words girly, you know, but
Yeah.
but I appreciate I am trustworthy. But thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful to be here and have had the chance. And if I may, I'll just take a second to plug, in addition to Steno in the city, in May in Ventura is the DRA convention, the Deposition Reporters Association convention, where you guys are presenting.
We are Steno Pod
right?
Live, baby.
Yes, we're in there like swimwear.
Well, I'm really excited. Thank you guys again.
Absolutely.
y'all.
Love you so much. Thank you.
Happy day, everyone.